No, I think it's changed. It's totally changed.
Well, you make a trip up to the studio and
It seems like the artist is using their live musicians more to track. I feel like there's less of a separation nowadays between the studio guy and the live guys. People are using kind of people in the family, and the recording process might be at somebody's house. So you're getting a lot more of an opportunity to track. I didn't notice it till like my first real recording experience in a studio with a producer, and I got done tracking my drum track, and I thought like, cool, like I did it, like it's good. And then he looked at me and said, do you want to go in and do something else on top of that? Kind of looked at him crazy, like, well, no, like I played the drums, that's what you do, like I'm done. And I didn't realize that drummers were doing a lot more than you think they are. I remember a few years ago, I was listening to a song and it had a tambourine in the chorus. And I've heard that song for like 10 years and I've never heard that tambourine before. Because sometimes with overdubbing, you don't always hear all the sounds. Sometimes the sound is more meant to be felt. I almost thought it was like the past few years, overdubbing is just blowing up. There's all these extra layers. But it's something that's been around. Like if you listen to the old Motown records, it wasn't overdubbing, but there was a bunch of layers. And you had sometimes two drummers at once and a percussionist. But now with technology being better and budgets decreasing, you don't go in with a few other drummers to communicate ideas. You gotta do it yourself. So you're the guy that has to think of all these parts. A lot of the home studios, you don't have to worry about time and budget as much. You can spend all day working on overdubbing and parts. But when somebody's paying good money to be in a professional studio, that time is short. I thought, man, I got to find a better way to process my ideas. So to get that across, I like to break overdubbing into three categories. The first one is what I like to call the blended effect. The blended effect is just taking a sound, so record one thing, and then record another sound, and then you can keep doing that process and layering them and piecing them together. And then you can use that unique sound in any note value you want, whether that's a whole note, quarter note, 16th notes, the choice is yours. The second one is the orchestrated effect. The orchestrated effect records one sound at a time, and then you strategically put it at different parts of the song to create a pulse or a rhythm. The third category of overdubbing is what I like to call the team effect. You hear like the team player. So there is the star of the team, the person that might have the winning shot, and then that's what gets played on the replay. You remember one key thing, but everything else just helps support it. So the team effect has a supportive role with all the overdubbing layers. So that's what's going to be an example for today. What you're going to hear is the main groove, which I'm going to play, just bass drum, two snares, hi-hat and a crash. Just a pretty standard 16th note groove, 2 and 4 on the snare, and I'm going to do some syncopated, bass drum, snare drum notes. But the basic structure, your ear is going to be drawn to, snare 2 and 4, 16th notes on the hi-hat, and that's going to carry all the way through. Then what's going to be the supportive role, part of the team, is going to be a shaker, tambourine, stacked broken cymbals on top of each other, the bell of a cymbal, and a concert bass drum. So you're going to see the elements on the screen. So if it's not on the screen, it just means it's not being played. there's a session I was on, and you listen to the form of the tune in the studio, right? And then the bridge sounded massive. It's one of those moments where there's no question about where the direction's going. You just know this bridge is gonna be huge, rocking, big drums, that whole thing. But in my head, I was hearing something different. In terms of, instead of just slamming stock rock drums, I was hearing a bunch of overdubs and create this unique piece. But to do that, I needed to keep time on the ride cymbal during the bridge, so not really play at all. I didn't think to communicate to the producer about that. So we track, right? And the bridge happens and everybody's playing big and I'm just keeping time on the cymbal, right? And the song is done and you hear the silence and then you hear the talk back from the producer in the other room saying, like, hey man, like, what are you doing? It's supposed to be huge there. And it was a producer that I didn't really work with before, so he didn't know me. So in that moment, in his mind, I totally lost all credibility. He's thinking that I don't have good ears and I'm completely oblivious and not listening to the music. And again, what the song requires. I have an idea, I want to try this overdubbing, it's gonna sound huge, but he was so, in his mind, turned off that I wasn't listening and didn't play big right away, that he just totally shut it down, didn't even want to hear it. It's like, no, just big drums, let's move on. Because that is the role of a producer. You have to, they're the boss. So I'm there to serve the artist and serve the producer. So it would have been better for me to ask his direction, or if he was open to spending time and hearing what that would sound like with the overdubs on the bridge, instead of just the stock big rock drums that seem so obvious to do. But it's been really interesting learning how to communicate, as well as knowing studio budgets and time, because time is so important. And this is really one of the most important things when trying overdubbing, when you're in a real professional studio, is being aware of time and knowing if your idea is gonna work, if it's gonna be awesome. Sometimes when I have an overdubbing idea, I can hear everything in my head and I just know it's not gonna be time wasted. I just know people are gonna love it. And then there's other times where I don't know. And I have an idea, but I can't hear it in my head and I need to explore it a little bit. And I've learned it's really good to communicate that, because if you have to explore it and it's a flop, well, you might waste an hour. And if you don't communicate that, people might be kind of bummed that you just wasted an hour or their dollars. A producer doesn't have to communicate every idea they have, right? But they might have a direction that they're hearing and you need to go with that. When you hear an empty spot, maybe ask if he wants to fill that emptiness with drums, or if he has an idea in his head to fill that in with other instrumentation later. I mean, at the end of the day, there is no way to explain this. The studio it's like own ecosystem, and every studio experience is different from the last. There is no one way to do it. One studio situation, you might record drums first with bass. The next day, you might record with the whole band together. And the producer might be very direct on one, and the producer might be very vague in the other. So it's a completely changing thing. So I mean, you're just gonna learn from mistakes and trial and error. It's just important to have fun, because I see too many non-smiling faces in music, and it's the funnest thing in the world. Try not to take yourself too seriously. It's not a sport. There's no being better or the best. It's all art and it's all creative, and it's just a blessing at whatever level you get to do it at, whether it's you get paid a lot of money, or you're doing a freebie gig, or you're playing in front of thousands of people, or playing for your family and friends at a local coffee shop. It's all a blessing. So I just encourage you to have fun as you do it, and just enjoy the ride. Keep drumming.